One of the most important lessons we can take as coaches is allowing our players to teach. And I think it resonates more, just like in the classroom. I was telling our head coach last night, I was telling Chad, I said, sometimes the most important lessons we can have as coaches is allow our young men to teach. And, I know Coach Blanchard at the ABCA with the rookie mentorship, that's he says it every year, if we allow our young men to be the example, it's going to resonate more with our players because they understand what it looks like. And it's a different voice.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clearing the Bases, the podcast where we step up to the plate and dive deep into the world of youth baseball. I'm your host, Jimmy Filangieri. On this show, we discuss all things related to the preparation and development of youth baseball players, coaches, and yes, even parents. So sit back, settle in, and get ready to hear from some of the greatest baseball minds out there.
Love it. And here's the reason. We don't have to be as complicated as Major League Analytics. But with these kids, especially in school, they're around technology, right? And they do compare themselves to their peers. Whether we like it or not, they do that, right? And as a teacher, you can gamify your studying habits. So we do that, in my classroom. And we'll play a Kahoot or a Book-It, and there's standings there. You're competing against your peers. Like at the end of the day, there's a leaderboard, and you'll know that does little Johnny know what he knows, right? Or is Jimmy better than you, right? So I think the way I see analytics at our levels, especially amateur level, is it's competition.
To be able to reach the highest levels of this game, you got to work hard. You got to get in the cages. You got to do your strength and conditioning. You got to throw your bullpens. There's all of this physical stuff that you need to do, and you need to work hard at it. But don't forget that you also have to get better at the mental side of the game. And one of the ways you can do that is increase baseball IQ by downloading and using the 6-Tool app.
For baseball coaches like you, every game brings measurable progress. However, game time isn't the time for trial and error learning. Instead, have a proactive approach. Use 6-Tool, the best baseball player development tool on the market. We provide a platform to level up your coaching strategy by helping you to quickly identify and address your players' knowledge of the game. By using our easy-to-implement interactive player quizzes, you can assess position-specific issues, overall baseball IQ, and much more. Win more games and develop better overall baseball players with effective off-the-field training. Visit us at 6-tool.com. 6-Tool. Get ahead in the game.
Listen, I was out there in 30-degree weather getting rained on. We won the game, but I was out there freezing to death. That is what Northeast baseball is like in the spring, and I can't tell you how much I hate it. But the wind warmed me up a little bit. So I came home, got here, and we're going to jump on this show with a rising star in the coaching world, and that is Zach Casto. Zach, great to have you. How you been?
Busy, doing great. As busy as you can be with a 2-year-old, and it's been wonderful. And again, like we were talking beforehand about Josie, and if you go to the convention, you'll probably see her just toddling around, and that's a blessing within itself, right? And you go there for coaching advice, but you end up also getting parenting advice from everybody. So it's pretty cool gig, this baseball world.
Well, like I had said to you, before we started recording, I feel like I've been along for, the whole ride with her. And, it's fantastic to watch her grow. I can't believe that she's 2 already. When I first met you, she had just been born.
Yeah, she was 6 months, and we decided, well, we have to take her to Nashville because I'm presenting at the convention. And at the time, I was worried because I was like, what if she's loud? You're in there with thousands of people, and she was on the front row and didn't make a peep. I mean, she's been wonderful. Like when we found out we were pregnant with her, every single day going down our hill, I prayed about God, let's make her this way, and He blessed me with that. She's been wonderful, and terrible twos haven't been bad. She's got some tantrums here and there, but I mean it's nothing crazy. And so she's been a blessing. And again, like we talked about on air, I mean, having her around our team is probably the best thing for our kids. Like we've had kids use her almost like a focal point in practice to get if they get overwhelmed with some emotion, frustration, they'll just go over to her and get a little high five or a fist bump, and they're fine after that. So I'm like, well, that's pretty neat. So
That's fantastic.
so what a blessing she is.
Yeah. And I failed to mention that Zach is a coach at Sissonville High School in West Virginia. And that is in Sissonville, West Virginia, correct?
Yep. We're a little town, very close-knit community. West Virginia, obviously not a huge state, right? And Sissonville is just a wonderful little community. They are all about their Indians. They love their Indians, and regardless of sport, they go out and support. And and it's checked all the boxes for me. My my mom always loved like hometown teams. Her hometown was actually consolidated with the rival school. And they had to consolidate, and that's a lot of schools in West Virginia have had to consolidate, and Sissonville luckily has not. And my mom always loved going to those little towns or towns that had hometowns and these fans would come out in swarms regardless of sport and support one another. And so it's after my heart because my mom loved it, and because my mom loved it, I adopted that. So it's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. They do a lot of cool things. I mean, so again, I'm very blessed to be a Sissonville Indian.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I got to be honest with you. That's something that I long for because we don't have that sense of community. We don't have that here. And I wish we did because, I mean, it's from everybody that I've talked to that has that environment, it just seems like such a great place to be.
It is. Obviously, when it's, like you said, cold and rainy, unfortunately had a lot of those. And you're going to get that. West Virginia is an anomaly in the United States. We're the northernmost southern state and the southernmost northern state. So if you can make sense of that, then I'll give you a big high five. But yeah, unfortunately for us, right, a lot of our games are in the cold, so you don't really get a lot of fans and whatnot until it kind of gets nice. And we're blessed with some days of where it's 80. And what's cool about our field is there's actually a house in left center, and so this family will actually come out and they'll put out lawn chairs and sit, and a lot of the students will sit out there in the outfield, and it's really cool. Like, you get a kind of a cool environment, and sometimes our little kids will smack talk a little bit to the opposing team. So it's cool, and our field's actually all around the little league fields, so it's really cool. You get a little league game, then the kids come up, and we're actually having batting practice on kind of a colder night. We had a night, it was around probably 8:00, so for a lot of those little league kids, they just finished and they ran out and they wanted autographs from our kids.
I love that.
And with it being a close-knit community, they know everyone, and so it's so cool to see that. Being a graduate of Nitro High, we didn't necessarily have that. Sissonville's been unique to where truly the community comes out and supports regardless, and it's a community event, and the people there are just so great. I mean, they've been wonderful to my family, been wonderful to Em and Josie, obviously. So they've really welcomed us with open arms, and it's been just a wonderful experience.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like we don't have support. The parents of the players, yeah, they come, and, the immediate families, there. But we don't get like what you just said. I love that the Little League players will come over and watch the high school guys play. That type of thing. That's got to be awesome. But before we get into baseball, okay, and I want everybody to know out there that Zach has written a book, and you pretty much just released it, right? Not that long ago.
Yeah, started in January. So this is my second book. The first book I wrote was obviously about baseball. I was challenged by Kevin Wilson and Joe Ferraro to write a book based off of all the notes on podcasts that I listened to or ABCA conventions, things like that. They challenged me during COVID. They said, look, you have all these notes and all this knowledge, you need to share it out. And so I've had a podcast, or not a podcast, I've had a blog since I started coaching. And I just felt, ever since I got into baseball, always felt a need to share, what I know about baseball to others, whether that's, new stuff, old stuff, things of that nature. And so that it was a lot easier to write that book as opposed to this book. This book actually made me a little bit nervous, but man, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed the process.
Well, I want everybody to know, go to X and follow Zach. Do it, because he takes several different podcasts. He's done it to mine many times, which I'm very grateful for. And he listens, and then he posts notes on it. And I mean, it's fantastic for coaches to learn from. It's just really good stuff, and it's amazing to me that you do it. But the leadership of Jesus. Okay, this is the book that you just had published, just released. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so what made me nervous about this book was, typically when you're learning stuff, you're learning things, you reach out to others for advice. And being kind of a newish Christian, it's about 3 or 4 years since I've been saved, and we were actually at a youth lock, and I'm very involved with our youth at our church. And so Josie obviously can't, she just can't stay up all night just because she biologically can't. She tries but can't. And so we actually have an activity building downstairs underneath our church, and so I asked our youth leader, who's our pastor's wife, and I asked her, I said, hey, where can I put Josie one night? And she said, well, just take it up to the main part of the church. So we were up there one night, it's like 1 or 2, because she was trying to be a rock star with them, and it just kind of hit me, to write a new book. And so, she's asleep finally, and then I'm just there writing and typing, and this whole process of it, what I initially wanted to do was kind of combine sports history along with the Bible, and I got a chapter done, but then I couldn't really see the vision of what really was this. So I delayed it for probably a year. And I asked our pastor and several other Christians, and they really couldn't, give me traits. Or my question was, can you name all the traits of leadership that Jesus possessed? And that's a hard question, because when you have someone who was, fully God, fully man, never sinned, never made a mistake, and you talk about all of the leadership traits of this being, it's kind of hard to do. And so I prayed about it, and I actually got 7 traits, which I thought was ironic, because that's God's number is 7. And so what I did was I put in each chapter's like he forgives or he helps, things like that. And I put up biblical scriptures that go along with that, and I just described it. Right, so the book's not very big. It's only 42 pages, and so what I'd imagined it being, really wasn't what it became. But from people that have read it, they really loved it. It's something they can kind of go to, it's almost like a devotional, really. Mm-hmm. Something you can read, and something quick that makes you think about, am I doing this as a leader? And it's blessed me. It blessed me so much in the process. And again, thankful that that the Lord gave me the opportunity to write it, because it just showed me that we are all capable of these traits. Each of those traits we are capable of doing, and it challenges me daily to reflect upon did I really lead the young men that I'm blessed to coach as well as I could, right? And that's when I was mowing before we got it on the call. I was thinking about that process is, am I doing all that I can in the time that I'm given each day, right? Because every day is a blessing. When you're up vertical and not horizontal, you should consider that a blessing, regardless of how your day is going. And so, am I doing all that I can?
Yeah.
And these, and the youth that we have today are very similar to how they're similar with how they acted to us, right? But the world that they are in is so different from the ones that we both grew up in.
Yeah.
And so it's it's a challenge.
Yeah.
I feel I'm very empathetic and sympathetic towards what these young people will go through, because it's such a fast changing world. It's a microwave world. And in athletics, and especially in athletics, the progress is messy, right? There's a image I've seen online of, people think growth is just an upward thing, and it's not. It's more of just a mess of things. And in a world where they can get on a cell phone and see things and are capable of learning something in an instant, and they get and they fail, especially in baseball, right? You're going to fail a bunch in baseball. How do you handle that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's it's such a blessing that process was to write the book. I feel like I'm a better leader because of that. I'm patient already, but it's going to make me a more patient leader, because the youth that we're blessed with as coaches need us now more than ever. They need need to see people doing the right thing, because it's so easy to see the wrong thing now.
Sure. Oh, absolutely. So I would encourage everybody out there. I mean, look, I know, and I haven't even read it yet, and I'm going to get a copy and I'm going to read it, but I know it's going to be a great book because you wrote it. So go out there and, guys, get that book and read it. It'll help you. I can guarantee. Like I said, I haven't even read it, and I know Zach well enough to know that that's going to be all good stuff. So let's move on back to the baseball side, okay? So one of the things I want you to do, I don't think that you and I ever spoke about this, but maybe we did, and I'm just getting old and I can't remember, but take us through your baseball journey. How did it start? How did it evolve to where you are now?
Yeah, so admittedly, I was not very good at baseball, and I was blessed to even get an opportunity to play college baseball. I received one offer, and that was from West Virginia State, who's a Division II program in West Virginia that's had massive success. ABCA Hall of Famer Cal Bailey coached West Virginia State, and they took them to 2 Division II World Series on pretty much a shoestring budget, right? And so having the opportunity to be in that program and play for Sean Lloyd, who was his longtime assistant. So I was his in his first recruiting class, and we were very successful. And I truly believe I was recruited to become a coach, because I've known for a long time that I wanted to be a coach. My dad was a highly successful high school football coach in West Virginia. And so I've always kind of been around coaches, and that's what I'm comfortable with, I guess. And especially baseball, Cal, and that West Virginia State program, and Sean too, had those were kind of my rock star mentors in baseball. 2005 was their last World Series team, and those players, going to all those games and actually going to the baseball camps that Cal had and being around those players, those are like my Yankees, right? Those guys were rock stars, and so again, just to be able to be in that program and have an impact was wonderful. So I played 2 years. I knew at one point, they say you just, when it's time to kind of hang it up, or you don't have that desire. And I always was a guy that really worked my butt off. Even though I wasn't very talented, I worked my butt off. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. I felt like I could make more of an impact coaching. And so I went to Sean's office, and it's like, hey, I'd like to help out somehow. I'd like to be, coach. I don't know how that's, what do I do? And so I was a student assistant, and it's hard coaching your teammates.
Sure.
But kudos to them. They listened, like they respected me. And so I'm very appreciative to those early state teams that I got to coach, because that's not easy. A lot of times I feel like it's the norm to where they're not going to listen to you, right? And I think out of respect of me being a good teammate, that they respected me. And, they maybe they didn't listen, but at the same time, they never talked back. They always tried. And I think they always found it was easy to talk to me if they were, if they had some concerns or worries. I felt like it was easy to talk to me. And in that way, we could have that organic conversation with Coach Lloyd to where, we get the kids what they need. So I coached at State for 2 years. Actually got out of coaching for a little bit, just a year, to focus on college. Needed to pass a test for to continue my classes as an educator. So past that, in that spring, I was Nitro High School. That's where I played high school baseball for, and then kind of a Cal. He played for Cal. Steve Pritchard. He was a highly successful high school baseball coach. Actually won 2 state titles at Sissonville, and then went to Nitro and won several state titles there. So, Pritch, kind of a larger-than-life personality. I mean, big guy. I mean, he looked like almost like the Incredible Hulk at that time. He's a big guy, big muscular guy, and and I always gave him a hard time. Still, like, you're just a big teddy bear, which he was. He's a big teddy bear, and. But when he retired from coaching at Nitro, he gave me all of his coaching books and ABCA stuff, things like that. And so that helped me out early on as a coach. But at the time, Brian Withrow, who was the head coach at Nitro at the time, reached out and said, hey, anytime you want to, come out and help us, come on out. So I went down there and kind of got indirectly influenced or indirectly coached there. I coached their summer team and fall team. And then I joined the staff in that spring. And unfortunately, COVID hit. And so I coached there for a few years, and then I actually officially coached with them for 1 year. And then I got an opportunity to coach for South Charleston Post 94, a highly successful American Legion program. They've won a bunch of state titles and things like that, and had that opportunity to coach that team. And we were state runners-up that year, and lost to Cole Peschel, who I got to coach at UC. Which I'll talk about next, but he's out with the Twins, which is really cool. Like Cole was like our 2014 Pirates versus Madison Bumgarner in the wild card. It was just a buzzsaw. He was on a different level, man. But then I got blessed to get an opportunity to be the director of player development at the University of Charleston. Coached there for 2 years, and just the opportunity there has been just otherworldly. It was we got to play West Virginia University one game, and I mean we were good. UC's been good for a good while and successful. Had 2 opportunities to get to the World Series. We're just 1 game away, right? And in my first year at Charleston, we were 1 game away from the World Series, and so it's just a blessing. Like I'm so lucky that Robbie Britt allowed me to be on that staff and allowed me to do what I did and the impact that I made there. And after that, Robbie actually accepted a job at Eastern Michigan. That's where he's at now, at D1 at Eastern Michigan. And I'm now at Sissonville. It's my 2nd year there, and it's really a home. Like we talked about, I think I've found a home. I really love that place. The student athletes there, and I tell them this often. So you guys are almost like a vacation to me. Come to you, and you guys are easy to coach for the most part. You don't talk back. It's just wonderful kids, and I brag on them. And I say, not only would I allow you guys to babysit my daughter, but you guys would actually want to do that. And I think that says a lot about the character of the kids. And again, it's been just a blessing. So thankful to be there, and they've been great to me and my family.
I love the way you said it's almost like a vacation, because yes, when you have that environment, and I have it now, when you have that environment with your players, yeah, it's almost like an escape. In other words, when I go to practice, we have fun, we laugh, we joke. We're working, we're doing what we have to do. But yeah, I never looked at it that way. But yeah, it's kind of like a little escape. That's great.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Life sometimes can gut punch you, right?
Yeah.
And to have that outlet is just a wonderful thing. So I'm thankful for what I have.
Yeah.
For sure.
So, I mean, it sounds like you had a lot of mentors, a lot of guys that you coached for or coached with, and you know, give us like a rundown of who did what for you, and you know how that all worked out.
Oh man, Sean just showed me how a head coach can be organized, and kind of crafted my mind around a certain style of play. So each coach that I've coached for, I've learned a certain style of play, right? And I think that's important to, hopefully one day I'd like to be a head coach. And and I think at the high school level in particular, it's important to understand all these different styles of play you can play, because you can't recruit your guys, right? So, if you're blessed with speed, you better be running the bases pretty well, right? And if you guys that can, hit the ball pretty well and can knock it out, you better know how to play some guerrilla style baseball, right? So, each stop that I was at, I've got to learn something. And Sean is and was an excellent hitting coach for Cal. I mean, these guys were, just unreal hitters. And so offensively, I learned a lot of things, a lot of cues, a lot of drills from him, and still use that to this day. And through Robbie, just a lot of leadership skills and things of that nature. And Robbie's an excellent leader. I mean, he's, to be so young and to be that successful and to be a Division I head coach, regardless of environment, is a testament to himself. And a lot of, for Charleston, a lot of things I remember are how we ran bases, right? And we had new school leads, old school leads, and we were we were running rampant. No one could really stop us. So to allow that with our current group of guys at Sissonville is super important, because we have a lot of good athletes and we have a lot of speed, and we'll have a lot of speed for a good time. For Dave Sneed at Nitro, just allowing me to try things and fail was just a blessing, right? Because it's important to have those chances as an assistant, and to reflect upon what went well, what didn't go well, and is just great. And obviously Coach Carpenter, like I mentioned, is just probably one of the best human beings I've met. And we're so similar at times with our thoughts that it's kind of cool to kind of think how the other's thinking if we have different thoughts. But he's smart, he's sharp. Talking about pickoff plays, things. We'll text all the time about just little things we see. We'll screen capture things like watching college baseball or pro baseball, and it's the patience he has, the Christian values he has, which that's what I love. Like how can you make an impact as a Christian leader, as a coach? And I think so often times we can be a bad role model. And there were some teams, we went to go play at Myrtle Beach at the Rifkin Experience, and I'm not going to name any team names, but there are certain teams we played to where some of those head coaches and coaches just, to me, was not very good leadership. Weren't showing how you should act. And that also affects wins and losses.
Yeah.
Because our kids were very, cool under pressure. The other ones were very ebb and flow with how the game went. And so, sometimes you win those games, sometimes you don't, but more often than not, you're going to be successful. And then at the end of the day, what we're trying to do as coaches is develop young men for life after baseball.
Yes.
And again, our influence, regardless, head coach, assistant coach, how we act is how those young men are going to absorb things. And so, one thing I found out about me is sometimes I have a super low pulse in a lot of situations. It takes a lot for me to really get frustrated and flustered. There's a few things like, being a bad teammate, bad body language, not giving 100% effort. Those are things that are going to get me fired up, and I may break a clipboard here and there over that. It's very rare when I get upset. So sometimes the kids, I feel like, are too low pulse because of me at times. And so sometimes it's good for them to hear a different voice that's not that. And so, but what I'm trying to say is our influence on young men is important.
Oh, yeah.
And how we act is very important. And they need to know how to act and how not to act, because one day, they are the future generation of the U.S., but also, Lord bless them, they're going to be husbands one day or fathers one day. And it's important for them to see those things.
Absolutely. I mean, really, you hit the nail on the head, because let's face it, the amount of high school players that go on to play professional baseball, we'll say that, because that's what they do for a living, is it's almost like non-existent. You know what I mean? It's so few
it's very
players
minuscule. Yeah.
that that happens to, that really, if we're not teaching them how to be good young men, then what are we doing?
That's right.
It's just, that's what we do. So, I agree with you 100% on that. But so, I mean, I was going to ask you to describe your coaching philosophy, but you kind of like went through it, like, unless you want to elaborate a little bit more on it.
Yeah, just, if we're going to get into some X's and O's, a lot of successful coaches I've listened on your show and other shows. I think it's important that we don't coach the athleticism and natural ability and movements out of our players.
Love it.
Right. So I'm the hitting coach at Sissonville. And so very rarely do I change our mechanics.
Yes, I agree.
And a lot of it's approach. I mean, that, and like I told you on air, the most frustrating part as a coach is, kids making lack of adjustments, right? And that's hitting, obviously, you have to adjust. But I'm a true believer in the environment can be a teacher, using constraints and finding cues. So my end goal at the end of the fall, because I'm blessed to be able to be the coach for them in the fall, and I coach them essentially almost all year. And I would have that opportunity if I took it in the summer, but I like family time then, just because I don't see them a whole lot for most of the year. So, my end goal is, what cues can I use? Or one thing can I say? Sometimes it's just hands to the ball.
Yeah.
Right. Because we have one young man who just moves a lot, and that's just how he moves. And how do we simplify that? Well, hands to the ball, and he's starting to hit a lot of line drives and things like that, hitting the ball hard. We do a lot of. We use machines a bunch. They see velo almost every day, whether that's off the machine or by coach. We see mixed BP every day because that's what they're going to see. We practice everything every day because that's the game, right? We bunt every day, 2-strike hitting, hit and run, hit to all fields. Because if you can, honestly, and talking to Jake Lindmeyer, right, we're talking in the winter, talking about JUCO players. What's one thing you wish they all could do, and that's hit the opposite field. And so the best hitters do that. Yeah. Right. And I know Pete Caliendo said all the time, these guys in the big leagues, in the regular season, they play for a paycheck. But in the postseason, they're going to hit the opposite field because they're trying to win a ring. So,
Yeah.
And obviously at the amateur levels, we do that. So, again, that's the biggest thing is, I could probably put a baseball bat in Josie's hand, and however she swings, it's probably going to be looking really good. I know Danielle Martin, just listen to her just talking about movements. She said, if you let a kid throw a ball, it's going to look pretty good because that's just biologically how they move. And so how, we coach the athleticism out of them at a very young age. And that's a very scary thought, right? And here's another lesson too. We learned this. We had a young man who's probably one of the best teammates I've ever coached. And very talented baseball player, but he struggled early off for us. And, we're trying to figure things out. And then one of our seniors actually worked with him after practice one day and changed his stance and everything. And now and it's a complete 180. He's turned it around. And one of the most important lessons we can take as coaches is allowing our players to teach. And I think it resonates more. It's just like in the classroom. I was telling our head coach last night, I was telling Chad, I said, sometimes the most important lessons we can have as coaches is allow our young men to teach. And, I know Coach Blanchard at the ABCA with the, rookie mentorship, that's he says it every year, if we allow our young men to be the example, it's going to resonate more with our players because they see and they understand what it looks like. And it's a different voice.
Yeah.
Right. And if we coach the same, we coach every day, we say, the same things over and over every day. And and we're just going, we tune out each other. Right. So our young men are, even though they respect us, over time, they're just going to tune you out a little bit. And that's just how it is biologically. And so it's important for us to give our players the opportunities to teach, because if they can teach it, they know it.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to give that light. So again, I'm a big guy on cues, and unless I really have to make those mechanical changes, I don't really make it. And so usually I give them objectives of let's hit the sometimes it's a warning, right? Like the other day we were hitting a lot of pop-ups and fly balls, and I said for BP, I said, hey, look, if you do that, you lose a swing per round. Right. And then, for bunts, Coach Carpenter said, if you don't get a bunt down, you're out for it. You don't hit that round.
Yeah.
And so it's good to apply that pressure on them, but it's also good for them to understand themselves.
Yeah.
Right. And because, we can't go up there and hit for them.
Yeah.
They got to compete and understand how they compete and understand why they do what they do. Yeah. And again, ask why. Why was that last swing better than the one before? Right, and sometimes it's going to be a deer in the headlight, look at you.
Yeah.
Right, and that's where that conversation opens up to where, hey, here's what I saw, and how'd you feel? And sometimes they don't want to talk in front of their peers because they're, they're kids.
Yeah.
So again, it's just so important for them to know themselves and know why. Yeah. And if they can teach it, that's I think a whole culture turnaround.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, sure. I agree with you 8,000% about the cues. Okay, I have different cues for different hitters, and I love that way of teaching. Now, I guess I consider myself fortunate because I played baseball 800 years ago. Okay, nobody taught mechanics when I played baseball. You were either an athlete or you didn't play. It was really that simple, right? So nobody ever taught us. They had a couple of cues, keep your eyes on the ball, that type of thing. But yeah, our athleticism took over. So that's kind of the way I coach. I don't believe in saying your hands need to be here, your feet have to be here, your hips have to do. No, because you're creating robots. The other thing that you said that I learned this from Butch Chaffin, and you just nailed it, okay, is by letting the players teach, okay? Because we were talking about not having a lot of assistant coaches, and at the time he said to me, well, how many seniors do you have? He said, how many seniors? That's how many assistant coaches you have. They should be teaching. Now, this year, I only have one senior. My juniors are teaching. How cool is that?
Awesome.
I told them, I said, hey, guys, this program is going to be built from within. You guys teach the younger guys how to do it, and that's the way it'll work. So I'm just hammering home basically what you just said, that, yes, I agree with that, and it works.
Yeah, it reminds me when I was at Nitro, our head coach, Coach Pritchard, he'd said, every team has to have some sheriffs, right? But the sheriff you do not want is the coaching staff.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he said, I guarantee you, he'd tell us this every year, I guarantee you, if you allow us to be the sheriffs, you're going to be miserable and we're not going to be very successful.
Yeah.
So inside policing, and again, culture is culture because of those having skin in the game, right? We set the environment, but, we're not going out there and competing. There's no player coaches where we're at. Other than the players themselves. Yeah. So, they drive the machine, they drive the bus. I don't know who said that, but I've heard that before, is, you don't want the coaches to drive the bus, you want the players to drive the bus. You just set the standards and live to those standards, set the example, and they drive, they're driving the team on the journey. So,
I mean,
exactly.
It literally showed showed its face tonight in today's game We jumped out to a good lead. I don't remember, it was whatever, it doesn't matter. We jumped out to a good lead, and they chipped back a couple of runs. And then, like, maybe the middle 3 innings, we got a little flat. And this is another thing that I never did. That this year's the first year I did it because I thought that it could help, and it was explained to me that it could, is I got team captains. I've never done that. So anyway, I didn't say a word. When they started playing flat, my captains grabbed all of the boys over onto one side of the dugout and said, hey, let's pick it up. We're flat. Don't think this game is over, da-da-da-da-da. Zach, they came back out and they scored like 6 runs the next inning.
That's awesome.
It was great. and I didn't have to do anything.
Hey, that's what it's all about. They can make your life easier.
That's it.
So I have a question for you then. So captain-wise, so how is that selected? Like, how are they selected?
Okay, so what I did is, and our program is very, very small. We only have 30 players between the two varsity and JV, those two teams. So I asked all of the varsity players, give me who your captain is. And then I asked the varsity coaches and the JV coaches, because we all work out together, give me your opinion. And it was that simple. Whoever got the most votes, those were the team captains. And let me tell you something. It was right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, how would you do it?
Probably like that, because
Okay.
we're small too. Like we have 21 kids on our team. That's huge for us. That's big.
Yeah.
And that's because past few years we've really, we've had to have varsity guys play JV. So, or to the detriment of those few JV guys, they don't get as many games in. So, we're fired up, and we're in middle school. Our middle school's been very successful. And so then they have a big turnout this year because they won the county championship last year. They went undefeated, and we have a lot more kids this year. And so hopefully those kids will come out next year, and we can have a lot more kids. So I mean, the more kids you have, the more pressure you can put on one another, and in a strong culture and a strong program, everyone just helps each other.
Yeah.
Right. There's no backhandedness to it. And we've seen that this year. We've had more kids on the team, more kids have been pushed, and it's improved their skills. And they've been wanting more reps. And so that's the blessing with it. But I like how you do that, because that's a simple process. And again, more often than not, those opinions you get with the seriousness of it, you'll get the right guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, it really, because I knew who I wanted as captains, but I said, I'm not going to make that decision. I want it to come from within. And it's amazing how that just, bang, they hit it right on the head. And that's great. So let's talk a little bit about, let's say you got a player struggling. His confidence is down. He's not playing well. How do you deal with that?
I think it's a one-on-one conversation, right? And it's one that either walking in the outfield, find somewhere that the kid's comfortable. I like to walk a little bit, so that's a one-on-one conversation. Just ask them, what's going on? What do you see, right? And have them explain it. And it's an organic conversation. And again, if you know their ability, like what they can and can't do, and the cues that you've accumulated, that conversation should be, you should know them pretty well, and they should know what you expect as well. And this game beats you down, right? And I think examples and stories help out too. And so it's just through that conversation and just honesty between one another. I think that's where you get the truth, right? And so, again, just having an open and honest and transparent conversation with one another, I think you get that answer, right? And I also think, if the kid's beat down enough, I think you have to find some positives within each day, right? And so, going beyond that of that conversation, I think it's important to go out each day in practice or in a game, say, hey, I like how you did this. Right, or have them reflect too, right? Just try to boost their confidence and again work with them, right? Because if the confidence is down, it's going to take a little bit of time for success, right? And we've actually had some guys this year hitting wise that are like that, right? And so it's a back and forth conversation, and oftentimes those kids that overthink are the ones that are pretty bright with the game, but also pretty intelligent just in general.
Mm-hmm.
And and so, like I was talking with our coaches, sometimes you kind of have to go caveman baseball with them a little bit, right? And because they can overthink so much in that on deck circle, because a lot of our conversations they'll have either with me that's either in the hole or even on the on deck circle. And sometimes it's just tell them this, hey man, just see the ball and hit the daggone thing, right? Because we practice everything in practice, and it's chaotic at times, and they are successful there, right? So it's just them putting pressure on themselves, and also bringing them back to the middle game, right? The breath. I had a young man last night said, the reason why he came up to me after, and he's been on a tear. He said, it's after you and Coach Carpenter talking about the breath. When I'm successful now, I take a deep breath and visualize what I'm doing before I go in the box. And I told him after a game, I said, when you do that, the mind can't discern between reality and what's not reality, right? And so it's just boosted confidence.
Yeah.
Right. I think the middle game is just so important, not only in performance on the field, but also outside of it. Our kids need it now more than ever. And in West Virginia, and I'm hoping things have improved, but there was a newspaper article a few years ago that talked about how many students live with their grandparents, right? And that's, my mom always used to say, that's everywhere, and it's true, right? States get bad reps for certain things, but that's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's not just a stereotype in one place. It's everywhere. And so the middle game is not only is it important in baseball, but those tools that you give them from your tool belt with that works in any environment. And there's times as a teacher, coach, and parent, I just have to take a deep breath and just go through my mental routine. Yeah. Right, because life can come at you fast with certain things, and using that, it helps. So long story short with your answer, it just has to be an organic conversation. Pour into them some positives, right? Because they're probably going to beat themselves up a lot. And if you can get their mind turned to their mental routine and get their mind focused on the positives, I think they'll start to dig themselves out of that hole.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The more we could talk to them and, use our mental approach tools or our mental performance tools to help them, let's face it, I would say as a coach that I spend more time on the mental side of the game than the X's and O's. I'm almost getting to the point now where I tell my assistant coaches, what I want to work on, X and O's wise. And then all I do is I work with the players' mental, and I'll walk around the field and, do it that way. But I can give you, I have, just to give you an idea of dealing with confidence. So I have a kid that he's a junior, and he could throw the ball through a brick wall, but he can't throw a strike. Okay? And I've been working with him. He was with me last year as a sophomore. Now he's with me as a junior, working with him. And I'm saying to myself, what do I have to do to build his confidence and to make him understand that I'm trying to get him to dial it back a little bit. You don't need to throw 85. You could throw 80 just as long as you could command. Well, what I told him was, listen, I'm not giving up on you. Okay? We're going to make this happen. We're going to do it together. I'm going to run you out there, and I have. I've been running him out there game after game after game for an inning. That's it. And if he does well in the inning, we'll give him the next inning. And I told him that. I said, this is what we're going to do. I've never seen that kid so happy because he knows that I'm not giving up on him. He knows that I'm trying to let him work it out. And I guarantee you that hopefully for next year, we're going to have a strike thrower.
Oh, yeah.
Because his confidence will be up.
Yep. How do you eat an elephant, right? Piece by piece, little by little, right? So, same thing,
I
right?
love it.
Same thing is, and again, that's the way to do it, right? And again, if kids are so, I don't want to say they isolate now, but at times they do. And so it's important for them to know that you have their back,
Yeah.
right? And not only say that, but show it. I think so many times a lot of adults and a lot of kids' lives, they'll talk the talk but not walk the walk.
Yeah.
And for you to do that, not only are you impacting him on the field, but he'll take that same story, that same impact that you had in his life to someone else, right? And that's, and again, we're building the next generation of coaches, and that's it's an important thing,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we have kids on my team that want to be coaches, right? And so, boy, you got to set that example. I mean, no pressure, but
Yeah. 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 I mean, you're 100% right. You got to set that example, right? So, actually, one of my assistant coaches, 22 years old.
it's awesome.
The AD came to me, said, "Hey, I have a kid. What do you think?" And I said, "Come on, bring him. Let's see what happens. You want to know something, Zach? Best thing I ever did. The kid is fantastic." So,
It's awesome.
yeah.
It's awesome.
Okay, so this is going to be the old man in me talking now. Okay, so give me your take on the growing use of analytics in the game.
Love it. And here's the reason. We don't have to be as complicated as Major League Analytics. But with these kids, especially in school, they're around technology, right? And they do compare themselves to their peers. Whether we like it or not, they do that. Right. And as a teacher, I mean, you can gamify your studying habits. So we do that, in my classroom. And we'll play a Kahoot or a Blooket, and there's standings there. You're competing against your peers. Like at the end of the day, there's a leaderboard, and you'll know that does little Johnny know what he knows, right? Or is Jimmy better than you, right? So I think the way I see analytics at our levels, especially amateur level, is it's competition. And we're blessed at Sissonville to have Rapsodo. We use that for hitting. Doubly blessed that I was able to experience that and use that at Charleston, right? And so coming in, it's been a great thing. But on the other hand, it's important to understand how do you disperse that information, right? For us, I keep it on a Google sheet, from our winter hitting in particular. What's our exit velo, what's our average exit velo, and our max exit velo, and see how that improves. Blast, I love Blast because you get all these other little components, but it's also the most important part of it is you need to know your kids. You need to know how much of the onion do you peel back, because you can also have them be paralyzed by the analysis of things, right? And so at the end of the day, I don't care if your swing or the way you pitch is ugly, as long as it's successful, right?
Right.
Especially hitting. And so, I mean, you can track a lot of things. At Charleston, we tracked a bunch of things, but for outfield play, we would play games, and there would be points to it, and I would have somebody keep track of how many times they hit a target, or what kind of target did they hit, how many times they catch the ball correctly, and and just things like that. And quality at bats, that's analytics, right? I mean,
Sure.
We keep track of that. And like I told our guys, I never really look at their individual batting average. I'll look at a team batting average and on base percentage and things like that. But all I care about is your quality at bats.
Yes.
Right. And that's, Coach Carpenter, we'll talk about, lineups and things like that, and what are we thinking, and who can pinch hit in certain situations, things like that. And, last night I was so proud. We pretty much emptied the bench last night. We didn't have to, but we did, because our JV hit so well. So we gave them opportunities in the varsity game, and they came through.
Wow.
I mean, and so it's just on, how hard how hard are you practicing? Are you doing the right things? And so again, and analytics does not have to be necessarily on paper too. I mean, we analyze everything. What's analytics? What's part of the words analyze, right? And so, is it on paper? Is it not? I like it, and to be honest with you, you're probably using analytics just by watching, right? And the conversations you have with your staff. Those are some of the most important conversations. Analyzing, who did what went well, what didn't go well, and we do it every day, right? After practice, we reflect upon, what did the team do well, what did I do well, what could we improve upon, what can I improve upon to be a better, coach. So, I love it personally, and the kids do too. That first year using Rapsodo, our kids were hitting the ball so much harder and with less effort, right? We didn't want them to swing, out of their shoes, but they tried harder in the weight room because they knew that was hit the ball harder and to be stronger to throw the ball farther. I got to make sure the weight room's an important part of my day. So, it's a part of it, but you also don't want to get lost in the weeds. So it's important to know your personnel and what they can handle, for sure.
See, here's my problem, okay, with analytics. And you kind of touched on, like, the stuff you were saying with your outfield play, hitting targets and getting points. I love that. That's great. I'll use, trying to think of an example. We're in the cages hitting, okay? So we'll have competitions. If you hit the top of the cage, you're out. Next guy in, that type of thing. I love all of that stuff. That's great, okay? What drives me crazy, okay, is especially with exit velo and, pitching velocity, okay?
Yeah.
If they know, the players know that we're tracking that, okay, and I'll use just exit velocity. If they know we're tracking that, okay, then what they're going to do is, Coach, what was my EV? You tell them, okay, and he didn't like it. He thinks it should be more. Now he's coming out of his shoes. Now he's altering what he shouldn't be altering to try and get that result that he wants to see. Okay, when it's used that way, that kind of drives me crazy, and I don't do it. I don't track exit velocity. I don't track pitchers, especially. I was just talking about a kid throw the ball to a brick wall, but he can't throw a strike. So how good is it? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think for us in particular, it's important to find out. We'll track that. Each week we do something different. We have competitions, but we hit off the machine, a couple days a week in our winter hitting.
Yeah. And
so that's where it's the test of, is this swing actually working? Right. And more often than not, they fail a lot off the machine because it's, 80. We go probably 80 to 90 off of it. And it's not, it's not 60 feet 6 inches, so it's a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
And so guys are forced to make adjustments.
Yeah.
And probably one of the best things we did this year, and actually we got the idea off of I can't remember what guest off the ABC podcast, but because we had so many snow days, it messed up with our bullpens and our hitting regimen. So we just did live at bats, and so it helped our hitters and our pitchers, get ahead, what approach works. So I guess the counterpoint to that is, they may be trying that, but then when you put them in a game-like situation off a machine and things like that, then they realized, I really can't do that.
Yeah.
And we had some kids last year, some of our better hitters last year that would swing out of their shoes and just kind of fall short in big situations. And that's when we just had a practice. We're like, hey, you're swinging 100%. Let's knock it down to about 70. Yeah. And that's when they turned it around. Then they start hitting, having success in games. So, we track it in the winter because I think it breeds confidence, but also competition. Then really in season, it's more of a team-based look at things. And again, we don't, we'll send out what their averages were for the day, but we don't ever send out what it was for the whole winter.
Right.
So because of what you said, those guys may be overdoing it, But again, I think the beauty of this game is the failure component of it will also teach you what I'm trying to do probably isn't working best. So I need to tone it back a little bit or have a conversation with my coach and let's see what works, best.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be my aspect of it. But I think at our level, if you get too lost in the numbers, I think you're hurting yourself a little bit.
I agree. Okay, I can't believe this, how fast the time has gone by. Zach, I could talk to you all night.
Me too. I love it.
But there's something that I got to talk to you about, and I want to see how this is going, okay? Your involvement now with USA Baseball, okay? I think that's a fabulous thing that you're involved in it, and talk to me. How's it going? What's coming up? How did you get started with it? Because I know that you would, last time we spoke, I think it was at the convention, you said that, you were getting this started. So talk to me about it.
Yeah, Chris Capozzi randomly reached out and said, "Hey, you want to be a part of us?" And admittedly, being a part of USA is kind of like a dream. I'm still kind of mind blown. I'm part of it, right? But what I am, I'm a coach and scout for the Northeast region. So NTIS process. So obviously that's scouting and coaching. Those kids will be, they'll come to a camp. You instruct them, but you also evaluate them. So those kids that you evaluate, they'll go on to carry, and then hopefully compete for a roster spot on one of the USA teams. And so we were actually supposed to have our first event in West Virginia in a long time last Sunday, but we got a lot of rain, so we actually switched it to May 25th at Go-Mart Ballpark. That's our only professional baseball team will be there, and they're pumped up to do it. That's the Charleston Dirty Birds. That's the team, and they're excited for it, and the community's really excited for it. And so I'm hoping for a good turnout. I know we had a decent turnout for the first event, so I'm hoping it'll work out. But again, to be a part of USA is a dream. Like I couldn't believe it. And again, just to wear that shield, to wear USA. Again, I can't describe it. It's unbelievable. And again, it's I know when Butch and a lot of your guests have said there's really truly nothing like being a part of USA, and they're so right.
Yeah. And
just it's exciting. And I just again at the end of the day, what did I want to do as a coach? I wanted to give back to the game, and I wanted to help young men love baseball as much as I do. Like I love it. It's just a wonderful game, and it owes me nothing, but I think I owe it everything.
Yeah.
Just from the lessons it's taught and the opportunities, right? I mean, heck, my daughter can be a part of the game, right? And I mean, she is like the best part of yesterday, regardless of our game and competing, was just seeing our boys interact with her, give her high fives, and her running on the field and enjoying that and being a part of that process. So this game is, way beyond the X's and O's. It's the best game in the world because you actually get to learn how to fail.
Yeah. And
how do you handle that? Yeah. And again, just to be able to be part of USA, just a tiny bit of it is a dream come true. I told him one day, I said, look, I mean, just to be a part of that is, I never thought I'd have that opportunity, but again, I never thought I'd have the opportunity to be, speak at the ABCA, get to meet you, get to meet all these coaches and that have, been in my eyes are rock stars.
Yeah.
And there's just truly nothing. There is nothing like the community of baseball coaches.
No.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. And
they're humble. They'll give you the shirt off their back. And again, what a blessing. Yeah. I'm thankful I'm part of this because I know in other sports it's not like that. So I'm thankful I'm part of this great game.
No. And I mean, I've said it a million times. You've listened to the show and heard me say it, that these relationships that, look at you and I met, 3 years ago?
Yeah.
And I mean, every now and then we text each other, how's everything going? How's Josie doing? This and that. And that is common. It's common amongst us. It's amazing. It really is, and it's really, for me, it's an honor to know guys like you, and all of the other USA baseball coaches that I know, and it is. It's truly, truly amazing, and it's very, like you said, I loved it. It's very humbling, So, look, like I said, I can just talk to you all night long, but unfortunately, I do have to eat. I'm starving.
Same here.
So, listen, give Josie a big hug for me. Say hi to Emma for me, and Zach. Oh, wait a minute. I know what I wanted to ask you. Who's going to do the show notes for this show?
I have no clue. Well, they got AI now, so they just do that. They're all artificial intelligence out there.
I was going to say, we'll have to recruit somebody to step in for you.
Call a pinch hitter. We'll do it. We'll figure it out.
Exactly.
Got to be somebody. Got to be somebody out there.
Zach, it's always a pleasure. I enjoy talking with you, and thank you so much for coming on and spending time with us.
Well, again, thank you for the opportunity. And again, thank you for the opportunity at the ABC a couple of years ago and getting to meet you. I mean, you're a blessing in my life. I think about you often.
I do the same.
And again, thankful for our friendship. I mean, what a blessing.
Yeah.
What a blessing.
And I feel the same way. So, yes, I mean, this is great. I love the relationship, and it's only going to get better as time goes by.
That's right.
So, listen, have a good night. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll be in touch. We'll text every now and then.
That's right. Go get him, Coach.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Zach. This guy, Zach Casto, is absolutely one of the most amazing human beings I've ever met. Me and Zach became friends a couple of years ago, and, like we alluded to on the show a bit, that relationship has just grown and grown and grown, and I'm really, really happy to call him a friend. He's just full of baseball knowledge, and he's young, too, which is really amazing. It just goes to show that, look, if you really want to do it, you can do it. It's just in the education. Zach is the poster child for coaching education. I mean, from all of the stuff he does, from coaching high school, he was a college coach. He's now involved with USA Baseball. And one of the really amazing things that he does, it's amazing to me that he takes podcasts and creates show notes from all different podcasts. And he creates these show notes and he puts them on social media. So if you're not a podcast listener and you still want to further your education as a baseball coach, well, Zach provides those show notes that you can go on and it'll take you like 5 minutes to read them, and there's all kinds of great information. So listen, number one, go out and get Zach's books, both of them. He has 2 books out. The most recent one called The Leadership of Jesus, you can go out there and get it on Amazon, and I'm sure there's a lot of other places you can get it, but believe me, if you're a baseball coach and you're trying to further your career, a book like this that will teach you how to be a better leader, I don't know what else to say. It's fantastic stuff. Don't forget to follow Zach on X. You can get those show notes. I'm sure he's on Instagram, Facebook. He's probably on every social media. But the one that I follow the most for those show notes is on X, where he is at Coach Casto, Casto. Follow him. So, if you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Visit the website at thectbshow.net. Listen to your favorite episodes, and please leave us a review. You can also reach out to the show on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and get this, the old man has finally got us on TikTok. Keeps me young. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please drop us an email at clearingthebases@gmail.com. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content and reach more people in the baseball community just like you. And also, let me know if you'd like to be a guest. Until then, coaches and players, keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.